guys, welcome back to the Stop Renting Podcast. Rodrigo Prasada,
Kara Berger.
Shoreline Group, Sarasota, Florida.
Yes.
Today, we're going to talk about...
top mistakes buyers make.
Ooh, cool. Okay, top mistakes that buyers make.
This is a fun one.
This is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited.
So let's start with number one.
Let's get it rolling.
Not getting pre-approved for a mortgage.
Oh, yes. Okay, so
Step one.
That happens a lot. A lot of people just be like, hey, I want to go see houses without getting pre-approved. So you're messing around on realtor.com or Zillow, or maybe you know a realtor and you're like, hey, I want to go look at houses. And you're not pre-approved. So it's a mistake to do that because A, you may not even qualify for a mortgage, which happens.
Yep.
B, you may qualify for a lot less than you think or a lot more than you think.
Yep.
So even just for those two reasons, you should probably get pre-qualified, at the very least pre-qualified, if not fully pre-approved, by a mortgage company. If you're serious about buying, if you're serious about going out with an agent and looking at houses and all that stuff, getting pre-approved before you even jump on realtor.com. Like, I know nobody's going to listen to that. But
yeah, but it helps.
But
you know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
You know what can you afford. You don't want to look at something way higher than what you can afford.
Correct.
That's just sad and
very
annoying, because then you're like, shoot, and then you have to go down a little bit. And
it ruins the magic of it, to be honest. Maybe I don't have a better way of saying it, but I do
love
think
that,
the magic of it, because like young couple, we're going to go see houses. They see the first house. They love it. Either the agent was being nice or they don't know what they're doing and they didn't ask up front. Are you pre-approved? So you show up at the house. Both the young couple love the house. They can envision.
This is the winner.
This is the winner. The baby's crib's going to go here and there. And then they're like, all right, let's put an offer. And then more than likely at this point, you should definitely have a pre-approval. But say you submit an offer without a pre-approval. The seller is going to say, no, I need to see pre-approval. I need to see proof of funds. Then you go to deal with the mortgage companies. And at that point, you figure out you can't afford it, or you're not ready to qualify, or something's wrong in your credit report, or whatever it is. So
you have to wait a little bit. You have to do all the
paperwork and all the stuff. And there's things that need to be done in order to qualify for a mortgage that take time if you haven't done them already. So don't ruin the magic for yourself.
Don't ruin the magic.
Get pre-approved.
Get pre-approved for a mortgage
before you go see houses.
Yes, please.
When you're serious about buying.
Number two, overlooking hidden costs.
Yeah, so there is a lot of hidden costs when it comes to purchasing a home. You should hopefully have an agent that educates you on that, or you've educated yourself through YouTube or podcasts or whatever. But there is hidden costs when it comes to purchasing a home. If your inspections is a big part of it, closing costs.
Property taxes,
insurance, appraisals, repairs that may need to be done to the house that the seller is not willing to pay for, depending on how competitive the market is and what type of house you bought.
Utility expenses too.
Utility inspection.
How much will electric be or water for this home? Those are all things you want to factor in when you're looking. It's not just only looking at the purchase price.
Correct. It's not only the purchase price and the mortgage, but there's costs when it comes to buying the house in the purchasing process, and there's costs of ownership that come after.
Yeah, you want to budget all out.
Correct. It's still better than renting.
Oh, yes.
Stop renting. But
they're not.
Yes, but there is costs associated beyond just your closing costs and the down payment. There's other costs, ancillary costs that that some are due up front within the first few days, some are due at closing, and then obviously some are due while you own the home.
So you can't forget about those.
Correct.
Not considering resale value.
Yeah, that's a good one. So sometimes, and we saw this during COVID, where people were buying houses all nilly-willy without sight unseen. You have to look at the house and think, with everything in life, any financial decision, like, are you going to stay here for 5, 10, 15 years?
Think about like the long term.
And then look at the market. One that I love for this, like, don't ever buy the most expensive house in the neighborhood, because if and when prices for homes fluctuate, which they always do, the first house to lose value is the most expensive house in the neighborhood. Yep. So that's a go-to that I always tell people. And time has proven it right. Don't buy the most expensive house. Always buy probably in the middle of the neighborhood average price point, depending on how much work you want to do to the house. But always keep in mind, if you're going to think of selling it within 5 or 10 or 15 years, what area are you in of the town? How's the town looking? How's the state looking? All that stuff. So
all the surroundings.
Yeah. Think of it as it's obviously an investment in a sense that you live in it, but it's still an investment and something that can go up and down in value over time.
Yep, I agree with that. Failing to research the neighborhood.
Yeah, so we talked about it. Side note on this, real estate agents are not allowed to disclose certain things about a neighborhood. So if you call an agent and you start asking them certain specific questions about any neighborhood,
Yeah.
it's a touchy subject, and by law, real estate agents are not allowed to disclose their opinions on certain things.
Like,
So
is
because
this a rough neighborhood?
is this
Like,
a rough
that's the law,
neighborhood? The school zones, a bunch of other questions like that, crime rates we've heard.
Right.
So if you ask those questions and the real estate agent says, "Hey, I can't answer that. Use this website or something to that effect," don't get offended. They're not legally we're not allowed to
Mhm.
answer certain questions when it comes about neighborhoods. Again, it's 2024, so you have the internet. You should, as a advice that I give my clients, I can't give my opinion, but you should spend the time to
Right.
educate yourself on the zip code, the area,
Research
school
it. Yeah.
zones, everything you can think of, because, like we talked about just now, it's an investment in a sense, and an investment that is very easily affected by the areas that it's in.
Like they always say, location is everything.
Location,
So,
location, location.
location. Uh, letting emotions take over.
Oh, yes. We talked
That's a
about this
good
on
one.
seller mistakes.
Yes, buyers can be very
Emotional.
emotional just as
Everybody
much
can.
as
Everybody
sellers.
can. No, it's true. And I do think a big part of what we do is we're not as good as therapists, but we're close, because obviously it's the biggest thing you're probably going to buy.
Hmm.
So obviously there's a lot of emotion tied into it. Anytime there's a lot of money, and if you're moving to another city, or let's say you're a young family and you this is where you're going to raise your kids, or you're relocating and you've already raised your family in this house, so it's
It's like
emotions,
retirement
a retirement.
home.
So obviously, for most times that people are buying or selling a house, it's a pretty already an emotional life stage.
Hmm.
So that obviously means that people are bringing a lot of emotion into the situation, and it never it obviously the magic when you walk in, if you love the house, that should probably be where the emotion ends. After that, in order for things to go smoothly for everybody, yourself included, you would want to start to take emotion out of the equation. Just be like,
Hmm.
yes, this is a house we love, but when it comes down to negotiating, inspection periods, all that stuff, I've seen it, and where
People get too wrapped up in certain
yeah, they
things.
love the house, and then something comes back in the inspection report, which is a big thing. The seller's not willing to pay for it, and then like, oh no, that's fine, we'll just let it go. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
like maybe, yeah, I understand, but just, and again, your agent should do a good job at explaining, like, this is what could cost. This, maybe let's get a contractor out here to give us an opinion on.
Yeah.
So don't
Just
let your emotions.
or even the opposite way. If it's something super small, like a really
Mhm.
like a small maintenance fix that is very common or we're used to hearing, and the person I could get very emotional about it and be like, I don't want anyone back out. But like
Mhm.
we were just saying, this was your dream home.
Yeah,
If it's something that's crazy, it,
that
it,
happens.
it might be worth it to just fix it for
Yeah,
$300 or something.
correct. Yeah, so
And
both ways.
so both ways,
Yeah,
and
and
just
we've seen that
try.
where
I guess that's when we come in to try to calm
yeah,
you
calm
down.
everybody. Well, I've seen it. It's like, hey, Rod, this thing's wrong in the inspection report. Can the seller fix it? We go to talk to the seller. The seller says, no, we already gave you a discount or whatever.
Right.
We're not fixing that. And you go back to the buyer, and the buyer gets emotional because, oh, why is this selling out? And it's like, let's all take a seat back and
Mhm.
realize, if you love the house, maybe again, $300-400 is not the end of the world.
And if
For,
you, like you said, got a discount,
yeah,
like
you already got
you got
you
like
got
an
reduced
accepted
purchase price.
offer,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I think it's, and I will say this thing, I don't know if we're going to do like a top mistakes realtors make, but I've seen this where the real estate agents carry the emotions over from, like, the emotions start with the seller, goes through the listing agent, and then goes through the other agent, and
Mhm.
then gets to the buyer. And that's not what it should be.
No,
The listing agent and the buyer's agent should, in a respectful and ethical way, block the emotion.
I
Translate
agree.
translate the facts, but keep the
And
emotion
work
out of it.
together.
Yeah, and again, if I've seen it also where the listing agent or the buyer's agent add their own emotions to it, which
Right.
is
Because like if you have your seller, your buyer probably you upset or
yeah,
getting wound up, and
yeah,
then you get wound up and you project it onto who
yeah,
you're
the
trying to
other
work with,
agent, yeah.
it just that doesn't work. So
So I
maybe
think,
emotions for no one.
yes, literally nobody can have
No one
emotions.
have
Straight
emotions.
face. No, but I think we should do another one like top mistakes realtors make, because I do think that's one of them,
That's
is
true.
letting emotions get the better of you in a negotiation or
Hmm.
whatever, because doesn't work well for anybody.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Doesn't help.
Take a chill pill. No, I'm kidding. Number 6, skipping the home inspection.
Do not ever, ever,
Don't
ever, 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 ever,
ever.
ever skip a home
What's
inspection
the
ever,
point? I mean, I guess there are some instances where you
unless it's a brand new
as
home.
is or two, or if you're just like investor. I don't know.
I don't know. If you're okay,
You should always
if
do
it's a
it.
brand new home, because if it's new
No,
construction, we do new
there's
construction all the
always
time.
mistakes.
Yeah, the new construction has mistakes the same as any other house. Just because something got brand new and newly installed yesterday does not mean it's perfectly
Yeah.
installed. There's a human being that installed it, same as anything else. So yeah, always get an inspection. At the very least, a general inspection. If you're going
Always.
to get insurance, you do want to get a 4 point and a win it because there's credits that you can get based off those reports.
Mhm.
So without those reports, you can still get the insurance, but there's chances that with those reports you'll get credits, which lower your insurance costs. So always get it. Always again, if it's
Always.
no matter what the price of the home is or how new or not, always get an inspection. Waiving the inspections to try to get the house as a better offer with like a lower offer or whatever. If you're
Mhm.
using that as a tactic to get a better house or a better purchase price or whatever, it's very dangerous. Things can very easily be hidden.
Things that you wouldn't even know about,
Correct.
could
Or
come out.
situations that might not. It's not an issue right now, but you do the inspections and you can clearly see where in the future, in 2 or 3 years, it's going
Mhm.
to be a problem.
Right.
So yeah, super
It's
important.
just helpful all
Mhm.
around. The dogs are barking.
We got dogs in the house.
Oh, the door's shut. Okay, good. Not considering long-term needs.
Not consider. Yeah, so we talked about resale value.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
buyers
that's
sometimes focus
yeah.
on immediate needs and forget to think about the futures, like long-term.
Correct. Yeah. So funny enough, while we're in this situation,
Mhm.
like me and my wife, 'cause we bought a 3-2, and we've always talked about having more than a few kids, and now that we're at one kid, and
Trying
hopefully a
to
second one is on the way, we have we're quickly outgrowing our house. So
right.
it happened. So yeah,
Mhm.
take a again think of the resale value of the house in the long term, and also think like how many years can I theoretically live in this house
Right.
if all goes well.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
working with people right now that are the same scenario. They love the home, first home, yay, okay, we're have kids here. And then now a couple years go by and it's like, wait a minute, we need
We're
bigger.
not 2 kids are
Not
not
like you
gonna
gotta
fit
go
here.
bigger, but it's like, oh wait, no,
Yeah,
this isn't the home. Like we need
yeah.
another home.
And think about it, like if and it still might make sense to buy that smaller house up front, but just think about it in the future.
Mhm.
Like, am I going to sell this in 2 or 3 years,
Right.
or am I going to rent it in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years? So, yeah, long term needs of yourself and your family, and then also we have a lot of people that come to our area that are retiring, and I always say, do you envision yourself being able to live in this house for the rest of the time? Make sure that we're looking at everything in that lens, not just a 5 or 10 year, but if this is the house you're going to have for the rest of your life. So something to very important to keep in mind.
Yep. So another mistake is making large financial changes before closing.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh,
So
come on.
if you're going through a mortgage process, do not go take out a credit card. Do not buy tile. Do not get a new car loan. Do not go on a shopping spree. Do not go travel on your
Crazy
credit card.
vacation. Yeah.
Yeah, so put your credit cards away. Don't use them for anything. Don't let anybody pull your credit. Be
Mhm.
super, super careful because just because you were pre approved and just because you're 75% of the way through the mortgage process and you're closing in a week does not mean you cannot then still get denied. We've had buyers get denied the day before because they racked
Horrible.
up credit card debt, they bought a car, bought tile to install in the new house, all the things. So be super careful with your finances from the period when you should be, but specifically after you've been pre-approved until after closing.
Until closing, and then you can do whatever you want and buy whatever you want.
Yeah, still be responsible financially
Yeah.
after you buy the
Yeah,
house,
of
but
course.
yes.
Relying solely on online listings.
Yeah, so depending on the market that you're in, we work our brokerage is Compass. Again, our team is Shoreline, but our brokerage is Compass, and we do what's called a lot of private exclusive. So there's a lot of properties that our agents and agents in our office have not yet hit the market, so they're not obviously online. So it's something to keep aware of. To ask your agent if they know of any off-market properties, which is always a good thing to think of. Or if you have, this happens a lot. If you like a very specific neighborhood and there's no homes for sale in that area, then maybe it's a situation where your agent can call the the other homes there and see if anybody's thinking of selling, or the other agents that are active in that area, see if there's any properties that
Mhm.
are theoretically coming to the market in a month or two. So
Relying solely on online listings.
yeah, so only looking at the online listing and thinking that because that online listing is literally just whatever the listing agent put out there, including
Mhm.
pictures and descriptions and all
Right.
that. So if a house seems like it's in the right neighborhood, you're like iffy about it, don't go purely off of whatever the listing says.
Right.
you should at this point have a real estate agent that you're working with that you can pass the address along to and say, hey, what do you think of this house? Maybe can we go look at it? The pictures are kind of iffy. I'm not too sure about this or that. And then have them do their own research and gather more information. On the buyer side, as a buyer's agent, there's a lot of information that we could gather because we know what we're doing that we can then inform our buyers about that property.
Like, yeah, we think this is exactly what you're looking for, or actually this is
Yeah.
way off. Like, I know it looks nice, but it's not, doesn't check your boxes.
Correct. And there's things that listing agents, for one reason or another, don't put on the listing that might be a material fact, might be something important to you as a buyer. So.
Right, exactly. So the last one is number 10, not working with a knowledgeable realtor.
Yes. So obviously there's three cases. You could either try doing it yourself. I highly don't recommend that. It's a complete waste of your time. Chances that situations go poorly are much higher. There's no financial benefit to it. We've talked about all that.
Yep.
Secondly, you can go hire somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Just a random person.
Just a random realtor that you didn't interview. You should always interview a realtor. And we see that all the time. Or it's like, hey, this is my friend who just started, or this is my mom's realtor that sells one house a year. So all those situations, it's almost as bad as doing it. I would say it's almost even more dangerous than doing it by yourself because this is an industry that you can make mistakes very easily if you're not knowledgeable at all points, whether it's showing houses, whether it's writing up offers, whether it's negotiating, whether it's inspection.
And even if you've been on it for a long time, but it's just making sure you trust your realtor.
Correct.
And they know what they're doing, and you'll be able to figure that out
pretty quickly. Yeah. So we talk about, interview your realtor. Make sure it's somebody who does this full time. They know what they're doing. It's not. I promise you, it's not just what we do. Is not just opening doors and collecting checks.
No.
There's a lot to it, and there is negative consequences to either A, doing it by yourself, or B, going with a less than knowledgeable realtor. And then obviously the third option is find a realtor who knows what they're doing, probably has a team supporting them, can demonstrate to you why they know what they're doing, can go over all the documentation with you, is professional, and can communicate
maybe
effectively.
Familiar with the area.
Yeah,
like what area you're looking at.
Correct. What area you're looking at. We've talked about it before, but just because it's the first agent that you spoke to doesn't mean that's probably the best agent. So yeah, interview your realtor. Make sure you find somebody who's knowledgeable and knows what they're doing in real estate.
That's a very important one. It was number 10.
Super important.
Yeah, that's like number 1 or 2.
Correct.
Maybe. Yeah. But so yeah, basically that's all the mistakes. I mean, there's obviously a lot of mistakes, but those are our top ones that we see people make a lot when you're looking when buying a home.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.